Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. Very excited today, both for the news, but more importantly, for the person who's going to be joining me to run us through this hour, Benjamin Dixon, here once again on the Damage Report. How's it going, Ben?
It's going great, John. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if it's just because I'm like over the hump of my cutting down of caffeine over the past few days, or if it's just because there's been a little bit of good news. But yeah, I don't know. Things are looking a little bit up. What do you think?
I'm a little hesitant to accept the joy. It's been a great couple of days, particularly. I didn't expect the Gamestop story to make me so happy, but it has. It really has. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now that has taken a turn that I'm not a fan of, but we're actually going to be talking about that right off the bat because I have a feeling our audience is probably going to be interested. So we're going to talk about that, but that's not all. We've also got, let's see, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We talked a little bit about some of the crazy stuff that she has said and believes yesterday on the show, but it's only a 1 hour show, so we couldn't get through everything. So we're gonna have more for you today. We've got some good news having to do with Bernie Sanders. We've got stuff on the minimum wage. We've got a lot. So everybody buckle up, hold on to your butts. We got some news coming for you. Please hit the like button and share the stream if you haven't already so that people know that we're live. And as we do this, if you'd like to chat along with us, send us tweets at hashtag TDR Live, tweets, Twitchies, anything you want. We'll respond to those as we go. I already see C Maslick, welcome to Tier 1 YouTube membership, appreciate that. And with that, Ben, you ready to jump into this thing?
Yeah, let's rock and roll, man.
Okay, let's do it. I'm really excited to get into this first story, especially because of a late breaking addition to it. So let's do that. Over the past couple of days, a group of people initially led by a subreddit, Wall Street Bets, successfully screwed a hedge fund over massively to the tune of potentially billions of dollars. And it was looking like that was going to continue. But we are talking about a movement to take on the most powerful entrenched economic interests in the country, or I guess the world. And history, I suppose. So they're not gonna go down without a fight, and they certainly aren't gonna fight in a non-dirty fashion. So this morning I saw that Robinhood, TD Ameritrade have restricted trading of GameStop and AMC stock, among others. And it's not just them, by the way. Apparently Charles Schwab did it. I don't see it reported here, but I couldn't trade Nokia on Fidelity yesterday. So I guess it's going a little bit broader than that. So they've cracked down on this. And as a result of that, the stock price of GameStop was plummeting. At least when I was checking, I can't say what it's at exactly right now. Well, actually, I guess I can. I guess I can publish it right here. But let's bring up this chart and you'll see that it did lead to the stock price going down. It looks like it's recovered a little bit because I'm reading right now that it's at 243, but it was up above 350, 400. So we got a lot more. But Ben, so far, what do you think about the fact that these Robinhood, TD Ameritrade have decided, no, you don't get to buy this stock anymore because we don't like the implications of it?
It just goes to show us that these institutions had no intention in dealing with us in good faith, right? Because as soon as we use the system against them to beat them at their own game, they pull the plug on it. So that's okay. We're gonna just find new ways of screwing Wall Street over and over and over again, the way they've screwed Main Street over and over and over again.
Exactly. And look, I asked on Twitter, how is this possibly illegal? A lot of people are saying it's not. I'm not an expert on the law or stocks or anything, so I don't know, but I don't see how it's legal. But anyway, there are gonna be investigations, but first, we're all processing this. And so when I'm processing this sort of thing, first of all, I wanna know what Ben thinks. Second of all, the country wants to know what Ja Rule thinks. So Ja Rule tweeted, yo, this is an effing crime what Robinhood app is doing. Do not sell, hold the line, WTF.
Yeah.
Okay, asked for that to be blurred, didn't happen. Anyway, I'm referencing a Dave Chappelle sketch there with Ja Rule, but he apparently is concerned about what's going on with Robinhood. And it really is amazing because Robinhood is just one of the groups that's done this. It's not just them, but they sort of build themselves as, we're gonna let regular people engage in this. They called themselves Robinhood. You have an opportunity to be kind of Robin Hoodish, and instead they decide to protect the hedge funds. And so Yesterday on the show, we had Dan Evans on. He's our informal financial correspondent. So he tweeted, I'm a little bit worried about what might, don't bring up the tweet because I'm a little bit worried it won't be blurred. But he said, how are you gonna call the app Robinhood and then protect the billion-dollar hedge funds from the free market? Just rename it Bootlicker.
Oh, yes.
Which is definitely true.
Yes.
Like,
that's perfect. Because
it's so frustrating.
Because here's the thing. If, investigations for what? What should be illegal? Hedge fund, capital venture capitalists being able to short stocks and ruin. I mean, this is really the same mechanism that actually ruined the economy, the housing market, 2007, 2008, 2009, right? The concept of shorting stocks and shorting entire industries and flipping that the misery of a company or the misery of an industry for profit. I'm sorry, no one should be able to profit off the misery of an entire industry. So if there's gonna be any investigations, investigate that.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not gonna relitigate all of the negative effects of them doing this, but they are significant. And so maybe it's not a bad thing to have a little bit of a shock to those hedge funds to stop them from doing it or from doing it in such a willy-nilly fashion. And causing all of the human and economic suffering that results from that. But as I'm like going over the argument that these groups are making, it's just like seeing TD Ameritrade said it placed restrictions on certain types of trading activity on the companies, quote, in the interest of mitigating risk for our companies and clients. Okay, but you stopped people from trading this, so the stock price is plummeting. That's a risk to your clients. So yes, you wanted to protect some clients, but not other clients. And it's pretty clear which ones. Robinhood, to give you an idea of what they're doing, I am reading that more than half of Robinhood investors own GameStop stock, probably pretty recently, but they own it. And that's just GME, not the other ones as well. So half of their user base might lose a ton of money, but they still think it's in their own personal best interest. Whoever the board of Robinhood is, they think it is more important that some hedge fund benefits than the majority of our entire user base. And I can't say what behind the scenes was happening in terms of communication or possible payoffs. And I'm not even saying direct payoffs, checks being cashed. But I don't think that the idea that the Robinhood board might have ownership shares in some of these hedge funds is a crazy thing to speculate.
Oh yeah.
And so there's gonna need to be some massive investigations into this because there's no way that them shutting down trading on their platform to protect their own financial interests isn't some kind of violation of something.
Right. They are willing to, but that shows you, let's be sure, like there's also the very likelihood that these venture capitalists have investments in Robinhood. And so they would be doing the favor of their shareholders by screwing over the consumer, right? Because in this case, the investors think that they're investors, but you're actually the consumer of this app, this Robinhood app. And so the real investors in Robinhood are the people who own stocks in it. And so if they have a connection there, just pure speculation, but if there's a connection there, then that's probably how they could get away with it. I think people just need to realize that, when you are actually the investor versus the consumer, and all of the people who use Robinhood to make this move, your money is at risk, but Robinhood doesn't see you as an investor, they see you as a product.
Yeah, and by the way, we haven't made any sort of financial advice in this, but just in case, it's always good to remind people, I said I wasn't an expert, but I'm not a financial advisor, obviously.
Nor am I.
So exactly, so bear that in mind. I've already pretty much talked about my own personal involvement in all of this back and forth. It's not much, I'll tell you that. But with the new changes that have been made on Robinhood and Charles Schwab and TD Ameritrade and a bunch of others, there are those now calling for some sort of investigation to see what was done, what kind of information we don't have access to, money possibly changing hands. There was a great tweet from Rashida Tlaib saying, this is beyond absurd. The Dems need to have a hearing on Robinhood's market manipulation. They're blocking the ability to trade to protect Wall Street hedge funds, stealing millions of dollars from their users to protect people who've used the stock market as a casino for decades, which is 100% what they're doing. Ben Shapiro is all whiny that people are talking about these being casinos, but that's what they are. These hedge funds are literally betting. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez added on saying this is unacceptable. We now need to know more about Robinhood app's decision to block retail investors from purchasing stock while hedge funds are freely able to trade the stock as they see fit. As a member of the Financial Services Committee, I'd support a hearing if necessary. And I saw that Ro Khanna agreed to that. So I don't know about you, Ben. I personally would love to see Katie Porter with a whiteboard talking to the leadership of Robinhood and getting to the bottom of this.
Right, I think this speaks it's really important to take in consideration the importance of this moment because it speaks to the political nature of software, the political nature of these apps. These are not just benign or passive things that are on your phone. These are political ideologies, philosophies, capitalism. They are deeply rooted. So the software that we download, we really have to take in consideration the political implications. So I'm looking forward to the investigations.
Exactly. And I expect that there's probably gonna be, there's a good number of representatives who actually will have the right position on this. It's also like people have gotten worked up about it. So there's gonna be opportunists who are gonna pretend that they give a damn about this. Right. And one of those opportunists has already popped up. So that AOC tweet calling for an investigation, Ted Cruz retweeted it with fully agree, pointing down to it. To which AOC responded, I am happy to work with Republicans on this issue where there's common ground, but you almost had me murdered 3 weeks ago, so you can sit this one out. Happy to work with almost any other GOP that aren't trying to get me killed. In the meantime, if you wanna help, you can resign. Yes. I feel like that shot from The Shining.
Oh my.
Yes, more.
He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
No, because he ain't good at this.
He's not, and he needs to understand fools that jump up get smacked down. Sorry, that was the Pompano Beach coming out of me. Sorry about that, but no, seriously, AOC is not one to play with, right? And the reality of it is like even if they are on the right side of this Robinhood app issue, which I doubt they will be, I think it's going to be a fascinating opportunity for any of the libertarian-esque side of the gamer community to see very transparently just how much Republicans would be opposed to them in this type of example of pulling out government regulations, but I digress. The point is, don't play with AOC. You're not ready to take it.
Exactly, and the right loves to pretend that they're in favor of regulation of Wall Street. Like even Trump during the 2016 campaign, he was like, I'm gonna get rid of their like tax loopholes and I'm gonna crack down on them. He would always use this particular type of investor thing as proof that he's okay taxing the rich. Like that was the only part of it that had to do with the rich, but he would always point to that. By the way, they didn't do it. It was all a lie. The populist right doesn't actually exist. It's a scam. You need to be able to see past it. But he was at least savvy enough to know he needed to pretend. Ted Cruz is trying to do the same thing. He just ain't as good at it.
It's not as good. And they also have to pretend as if they believe in the free market, right? Republicans constantly regurgitate that free market. Well, the free market spoke. You just didn't like what it said, and now you know a lot of conservatives are going to come on down on the side of Robinhood and the investors instead of the people who rallied and used their freedom, right? Free market says let the markets answer it. Conservatives don't believe in that.
Yeah. And by the way, this is obviously getting very ahead of whether there are even gonna be hearings, but if there are hearings, here's the thing. If Robinhood did break the law, which it really seems like either they did or the law needs to be changed, then whatever money was lost by their investors, they need to provide to them. We bail out Wall Street when Wall Street gets screwed over by the natural conclusion of their reckless behavior. These people, they weren't being reckless. Right. They were trading and it was working. They were pursuing a successful financial strategy and these few financial elites kneecap them. And some regular people are gonna lose everything. So either they need to bail them out or maybe the government needs to actually bail out regular people.
John, just one last thing. This is literally the case of the powerful having to break up collective action, right? What they do not want in any scenario, whether it be on Wall Street, right, in the markets, whether it be consumption and just purchasing, whatever, none of these major organizations, none of these box stores, none of these, corporations can afford to let the people get organized. Because if we do, we could break their institutions overnight.
Yeah, demonstrated by Reddit. Okay, let's read a few comments from the audience. Before we do that though, you made a reference to Pompano Beach. Are you originally from Pompano Beach?
I went to high school in Pompano Beach, Ely High School.
In Florida?
Yeah, in Florida. Yeah.
That's where my mom lives, actually.
Oh,
I've spent
there you
like
go.
6 Christmases in Pompano Beach. I
Pompano
really liked
Beach.
it.
No, I love that.
awesome.
I got to get back as soon as as soon as I get a vaccine, I'm headed to
Yeah.
Pompano.
Me too. I want to see that lighthoess again. It's such an idyllic little environment.
You know Pompano. All right.
I do actually. Yeah, my mom lives right there on that bay.
That's what's up.
Anywho, okay, so let's see what's going on with the audience. Reminder to all of you who maybe haven't checked in a week or two, TDR is now on TikTok because I'm one of the cool kids. So go to TikTok, search for The Damage Report, and you can see, some select clips from the show, but also special stuff, me making a fool out of myself, and it'll only get worse from here because my producers actually are cool kids and they want to make sure that I look like a fool. So that's coming. Look for that. Mrs. Blue from Lower Sioux says, hey John, how is Marijuana? Haven't seen him lately. So Marijuana has been living, I think, with Tim, but anyway, Marijuana is not at the studio. It's it's quarantining with one of TYT's employees, but supposedly it's perfectly fine. We still do some streams of Marijuana and stuff like that. Okay, Cujo has a good question. What is the name of the red TDR dragon? I don't know. I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out.
You have to have a name. Yeah.
We do. Forrest Dudley says, I don't know if this has been on TYT's radar, but there's been a 3-week protest in Bellingham, Washington by homeless pitching tents in front of City Hall, protesting lack of shelter during the COVID winter. Also, hi Ben, proud Trap Squad member.
Hey, shout out to the Trap
awesome.
Squad, Morning Trap, and the Dragon Squad. Love you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I hadn't seen that, but we will look into that. Thank you for letting us know that. Rialan says, Dragon X Squirrel Gang. P.S. Jenk should write a book every month. Loving seeing more Ben and Francesca on TYT.
Hey,
don't let Jenk see that. But it is nice. Anyway, Bernie the Kiwi Bird says, sorry guys, going to have to catch up with today's show later. Watching a panel of scientists about the COVID vaccine development. Check it out if interested. The Race for a Vaccine, it's called. Thank you for that. Hope you're enjoying that. Of course, you're also not watching right now, so you didn't see me read that, but I do appreciate it. Anyway, let's see. Over on Twitch, thank you, Vitingale, for rating us. Grumpy Old Nerd says, Ben nailed it. This is the Wall Street equivalent of union busting. Yeah. Okay, Husky Rook says, watch, the people who did the GameStop trading will get more time than Trump does for trying to overthrow the government. I doubt it, but I don't 100% doubt it.
Yeah, the sentiment is striking.
Yeah. Cody One Kenobi says, should rename the app Robinhood to Sheriff of Nottingham. Exactly. By the way, people are sending out, there's this tweet they sent in 2016 that just says, let the people trade. Yeah, that'd be nice, do that. Maybe I misread Robinhood because what I got out of it is different what they seem to have gotten out of that story.
Yeah, it's they're commodifying the idea of collective action, and then when they actually did it, they were like, no, we didn't really mean we wanted to liberate trading. No.
Yeah. Now imagine if in some alternative world, TD Ameritrade had cracked down on it and all these others had, but Robinhood stood strong and let people trade. Then you would have made good on your name.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah, okay, Julia, the original Dragon Lady, says on #TDR Live, I've checked all the online trading places I found and everyone is restricting now. Yeah, that is probably the case. Let's see, if I click trade, well, we're gonna check in on this. I'm assuming they will, it's down to 207, so it's going down once again. I'm really worried about some of the people that might have gotten in yesterday and might have lost half of their money in the last day. Anyway, okay, let's move on to other news. Oh geez, this is a doozy. New Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has been facing calls for her expulsion. This has been going on for about a week, but they're getting louder because she's crazier than we thought she was a week ago. Now, last week, we were infuriated by the fact that she had agreed with comments online calling the 2018 shooting in Parkland a false flag operation, which means that it was all faked. You know, the stuff Alex Jones is in legal trouble for. Yeah, no, your congressperson has a chance of believing that. She also liked other comments calling David Hogg a survivor of mass murder, #Little Hitler, and spread a conspiracy that he was a bought and paid little pawn and actor. So we're gonna show you the video, which you're probably thinking of already. But I want you to also take a look at this. This is a meme that she posted of David Hogg. I gave up mine, you give up yours. Definitely not a gun show, she says. This is 1 month after he survived an attempt at his own murder that took the lives of many of his friends. She was tweeting about how that high schooler's arms aren't impressive enough for her. That's what this congresswoman, now congresswoman, was posting on Facebook there. That she wasn't turned on enough by this kid's biceps. Anyway, she didn't just post comments, she also stalked him in real time. So here is a video in DC of her following David Hogg around.
Yeah. David, why are you supporting the red flag laws? If Scott Peterson, the resource officer at Parkland, had done his job, then Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have killed anybody in your high school, or at least protected them. Why are you supporting red flag gun laws that attack our Second Amendment rights? And why are you using kids as a barrier? Do you not know how to defend your stance? Look, I'm an American citizen. I'm a gun owner. I have a concealed carry permit. I carry a gun for protection for myself, and you are using your lobby and the money behind it and the kids to try to take away my Second Amendment rights. You don't have anything to say for yourself? You can't defend your stance? How did you get over 30 appointments with senators? How'd you do that? How did you get major press coverage on this issue? And how did you get kids? Why do you use kids? Why kids? You know, if school zones were protected with security guards with guns, there would be no mass shootings at schools. Do you know that? The best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. But yet you're attacking our Second Amendment. And you have nothing to say. No words. So I'm walking. He's got nothing to say. Sad.
Yeah, elsewhere in the video, she accuses him of taking Soros money and big liberal money. And the stuff about like, do you not know that the good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun? And all she is a collection of memes and conspiracy theories, things that she read online that she instantly stuffed into her empty brain. That's all it is. And we're gonna have more, but Ben, I wanted to give you a chance. What do you think about that now, Congresswoman?
I'm curious how much that bag cost. I don't think that bag is particularly cheap. And the only reason I bring that up is because, she likes to position herself as a victim here, right? And the only thing that she can use to position herself as a victim is the Second Amendment. This imagined fight against the Second Amendment that, generally speaking, most Americans aren't trying to get rid of the Second Amendment. That's just a scare tactic. Most people just want to make sure that we stop killing our children in school. And so she's pitting her imagined grievance, right? When she has everything that she wants, and I don't know, bags and purses, but I just got a feeling that's not a cheap one. She's got it so good that all she has time to do is go harass a survivor of a mass shooting.
Yep. To fly cross country to harass someone who is processing the PTSD of watching their friends gunned down. Now, before we go to his response, which does exist, I wanted to help people understand one part of what she said there, because it's a little bit confusing. What you need to understand is that she is both dumb and crazy. And so sometimes what she says is explained by being dumb, sometimes by crazy. So what she kept saying there was, why do you use kids? Why do you use kids? And a rational person might hear that and think, wait, what are you talking about? Why does he use kids? He's a kid. Kids were murdered. That's why they use kids. And it doesn't make sense. Now, it might seem like maybe she's just dumb enough to make that point, but no, in this case, it's not dumb, it's actually stupid. The reason, or it's actually crazy. The reason she's saying that is because you need to understand, she doesn't think that shooting happened at all. She doesn't think he was shot at. She doesn't think that kids were killed at that shooting or at other big shootings. She thinks he is just a bought and paid for person of this lobby that uses kids by making up shootings. That's what she's talking about there. Just like in her Facebook activity, she thinks that he's lying. She thinks that Fred Guttenberg, who's appeared on the show multiple times, is lying about his daughter being murdered. And so her being dumb is bad. In this case, I think her being crazy is worse because I've seen no evidence that she doesn't still believe that.
John, these people exist in a parallel universe, except they're right here with us, right? Up is down, down is up. Truth is fiction, fiction is truth to them. There's no limit to which they're willing to lie to themselves in order to protect themselves from ever having to consider a thought that challenges their ego, that challenges their way of thinking, their philosophies. And so they're willing to tell us that the sky is green and the grass is blue so that they can maintain that cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Or some of them aren't true believers. They tell their followers that so they can maintain their their funding, their
make
position,
some money,
their audience, whatever.
There's that.
Exactly. Now, David Hogg has responded to this video of Marjorie Taylor Greene going around once again, and here is what he had to say about it.
She was heckling you. I mean, obviously you had survived the Parkland school shooting. So she's bringing all of this up. She also said during that she said, I have a concealed carry permit. I carry a gun, she said, for protection. How did you interpret that? Did you hear that as a threat when she was chasing you saying that?
Oh, absolutely. But what I always say to myself, Allison, is that if they shoot me, they prove my point. And the reality is they can't kill a movement because the reality with that as well, it's funny when they say that we're paid off and stuff. And I can tell you that there's no amount of money that you could ever pay any of us to do this work because that's not why we do it. None of us want to be doing this, but we have to because sadly corrupt elected officials like Marjorie Taylor Greene are in Congress and would rather choose to protect guns than children.
Yeah, and back when she was an activist, this is what she was doing. And now she can actually vote on bills. She can try to stop gun control legislation and things like that. And she now has that power.
Yeah, and I can, anytime you do something and you do it for the right reasons, there's always somebody there to accuse you of taking some money, right? I've gotten accused of taking Soros money since day one. I mean, there were plenty of days I could have used some. So George Soros, give me a holler or whatever. But the fact remains is that they're doing this work because they went through something that changed their life forever, and they're gonna have a bond with the people who survived that Parkland shooting right there on the other side of Coconut Creek, Florida. It's like this is a reality. It's a real place. These were real people, real children, and they're doing this because they can't let this happen to anyone else.
Yeah, 100%. And they've, like Marjorie Taylor Greene's attacks against him are some of the individually worse against him and against others because he's not the only person that she's, smearing when she says that the whole thing's made up. There are any number of other kids from that shooting and from others that have tried to protect the lives of other kids, and they do it because they have to, because we don't have enough elected representatives to actually make it happen. Like, we focus on her here because what she's saying is abhorrent, but understand that the government hasn't done anything about guns since that shooting or since Sandy Hook or against Pulse or against Thousand Trees, against any of these shootings. And it didn't just do it because Marjorie Taylor Greene is bad. For every Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's 50 or 100 Republicans that agree on the goals with her. They just don't make as clear what they believe about Satanists eating children and stuff like that. But they will vote the exact same way as a Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they have. The reason that David Hogg has to keep doing this, that Emma Gonzalez, that a number of others have to keep doing this, is because nothing was done after any of those shootings.
Right.
And so she's the worst, and we're focusing on her, I think, justifiably. But there are a lot of other Republicans that are just as bad on the actual substance.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important and something that's completely not important. But I just have to say before you end the segment, David Hogg is growing up. He's got his whole beard situation going on, looking like what's the actor that played Christian Bale? Looking like Christian Bale on there. So, hey man, you guys be encouraged, David. Don't let these people get you down. You guys are doing an amazing work.
Now watch, Marjorie Taylor Greene is gonna be like, look, even the lib media admits he's an actor. Anyway, we're not done with Marjorie Taylor Greene though, unfortunately. This is building to something and we'll get there, but we got one more little bit to go through. Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't just a person who believes that every shooting is a false flag and that babies are being eaten for their hormones. She also believes some insane things about other elected representatives. And I know what you're thinking. John, you're talking about all those posts that she agreed with, that she wants to get Nancy Pelosi shot and she wants Barack Obama to be hung. No, I'm talking about a different issue. Here she is when she went to the Capitol to try to protest the swearing in of then new representatives Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar.
They swore in on the Korean. Oh, we have the Bible. We're going to talk about swearing in on the oath, how to swear in on the Bible with them, and let them know what our law says, that you can't swear in on the Korean. So we're going to explain to that. You know, we're going to explain about how you can't swear in on the Korean, and we're going to have the Bible and ask them if they would swear in on the Bible, that we really need them.
We have the oath.
Yeah, we have the oath. Yep. So I think that's important.
The sad thing is now
you're infringing on our religion.
Which you should not.
You're infringing on our religion.
Yes.
By saying that we can't swear in on the Quran.
But when they swore in, it wasn't a law yet, right? At the time they swore in.
I don't know.
I think at the time they swore in, that wasn't passed. Because it wouldn't have been passed in a Republican control.
Right.
Yeah, so it was passed after they swore in. So they're not really official, I don't think. So let's go ask them to swear in the Bible, because like you said, Will,
It has to be the Holy Bible?
Yeah, it has to be the Bible.
Well, the bottom line is
Yeah.
Sharia law is not compatible with America.
Yep.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
How can you say you represent women, but you support Sharia law?
You're gonna be shocked to find out that everything she was saying there was wrong. I mean, look, I get it if you're distracted by the fact that everything she was saying was awful. It was also awful, but don't get it twisted, it's also wrong, as we'll go into. Ben, what do you think?
She thinks the Constitution wasn't passed by the time people swore in on the Quran or whatever she's complaining about here. Folks, she's not by herself. That's all I want to say. There are a lot of people, and you know, I'm listening to her accent, and I'm like, it doesn't help that her accent. You know, she has a Southern accent like me, a little bit deeper. There are a lot of brilliant, even brilliant conservatives from the South. Some of them are my friends, but she is not one of them. She's not.
She is not. And so, look, she's there not because of some good faith, if entirely misplaced, concern about sticking to the letter of the law. She's there because she hates Muslims and she doesn't think that you should be able to be elected as a Muslim. That's at the end of the day why she is there. And she's wrong. What she was insinuating in that video was that there was some law that required all members of Congress to be sworn in on the Bible. At the time of Mrs. Omar and Mrs. Tlaib's ceremonies, she claimed there was no law allowing them to use a Quran over the Bible. Now, this is, of all of the insane Marjorie Taylor Greene things we've said, probably the most broad brush one, because there's tons of Republicans that seem to believe this. It's been repeated in recent years by other fringe members of the Republican Party about the swearing in. So let's be very clear. There is and never has been a law in US history that requires an elected official of the country to take the oath of office with a Bible or any other religious text. If you took the time to read the Constitution, which she definitely hasn't, it is written text after all. The United States Constitution states no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Why does the Constitution specifically say this? Because the framers of the Constitution valued the separation of church versus state, but that's inconvenient. And Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't get this far accepting and processing incompatible facts. And so, by the way, 4 presidents and several members of Congress have been sworn in without the use of a Bible. So don't mix up the fact that lots of people that have been elected in the past want you to believe that there's no wall. So they love getting the Bible involved in it. That doesn't mean that it's required. The Constitution specifically says no test. Everything that she said was 100% inaccurate.
Yeah, so she and I come from totally different interpretations of the Bible. I mean, if I were president, I probably would swear myself in on the Bible, right? But she looks to use the Bible as a bludgeoning tool, as a tool of domination, dominion theology. Her intention is to dominate the global society with her very particular and very specific version of Christianity, which is a direct lineage of the Christianity that used to lynch black people on Saturday night and then go to church on Sunday morning. So we don't worship the same God at all. So just want to put that on the record.
And for the record, I either swear myself in on a printed copy of the Green New Deal or possibly one of the Harry Potter books, because either one of those would cause Laura Ingram's skull to explode on live television.
I would also swear in on a TARDIS, the blue TARDIS. Like it's either the Bible or the TARDIS, and that's what I would use. Yeah.
Man, I've got like this, you know, the cartoon Archer. I've got an art book from it. I really like that art. So anyway, there's
that
no
will work too. That will work too.
Exactly. Okay, so where are we going with this? There is now an effort to expel Marjorie Taylor Greene from office, hopefully before she gets someone killed. Representative Jimmy Gomez, he tweeted, "I don't need to explain why Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is a clear and present danger to Congress and our democracy. She did it herself and she must go. I'm introducing a resolution to expel her from Congress immediately." And we have a little bit of video of him being interviewed about this. Here is Representative Gomez.
What about your Republican colleagues? Congressman Adam Kinzinger, for example, tweeted that Greene, quote, is not a Republican. Have you spoken with anybody across the aisle? Do you think you will get any Republican support for this?
I hope we get Republican support. We are reaching out actively to the Republican offices, asking them to co-sponsor this resolution. But they're going to have a chance to either decide, are they on the side of facts, reason, rational political discourse, or they're on the side of conspiracy theories, QAnon supporters, people that believe that political violence is a legitimate act in order to get your way in American politics.
The Republican leader, Kevin McCarthy, plans to have a conversation with Greene, according to Axios. Is it not enough for you that Republicans hold their own accountable?
I don't think he's going to hold her accountable.
Yeah, Ben, I'm sure that you saw that he's going to have a talk with her. What do you expect to come of that?
He's going to say, tone it down. We just got to go a little bit more clandestine over the next 4 years because we don't have the big kahuna Donald Trump to cover us. We can't be as wild as we used to be, Marjorie. So, just tuck in your racism and your xenophobia, your Islamophobia, your homophobia. Tuck it in just enough to fall within the acceptable parameters of the Republican Party.
Yeah, he understands, I'm sure, where the party is going. There's a chance she'll be minority leader in the House at some point. And the question, I get it. I get that you have to ask a question like that, but is it not enough that they manage their own side? Well, why are you asking me pure hypotheticals? Because you know as well as I do that they're not going to. There's not going to be anything done from their side. And if there was something done and we knew what it was, then we can discuss. But it's not gonna happen, and we don't even know what the hypothetical is, so there's no point in it. No, if you were watching this, and you are a conservative or whatever, you're not a Democrat, I want you to honestly answer the question. If we found out that Rashida Tlaib had been liking comments about putting a bullet in Mitch McConnell's head, would they be just like, oh no, that's totally fine, difference of opinion, you can totally stay there? Does anyone actually believe that?
No.
Does anyone actually believe that? And when she's stalking people through the streets of DC, kids who are processing their PTSD from mass shootings and saying that she has a gun. And when she's talking about Hillary Clinton consuming children for hormones and all, like I can't even remember all of the insane things that go beyond the line for what our expectations should be for like the person who scoops our ice cream, let alone Congress people. I'm blanking on her name. Katie Hill, she resigned because she had been in an affair, like a personal affair that had nothing to do with her job. She has supported the murder of politicians, and they're going to talk to her. They're going to seriously talk to her. No, she needs to get out of there. She needs to get, for so many different reasons, she needs to get out of there.
She has a direct lineage with the people who marched up the steps on January 6th. I forget the exact date, but right before the inauguration, she has a direct connection to them. She's from the same train of thought, the same type of thinking, the type of people who will destroy this democracy because they have to maintain some QAnon level delusion in order to not to come to terms with the fact that they are part and parcel complicit with the problems in this country.
100%. If she had not gotten elected, she would have been storming the Capitol.
Exactly.
She was already following
100%.
Kids around in the Capitol years before. She 100% would have been. Anyway, I want to go to one last thing to perhaps explain why you should not have high expectations from Kevin McCarthy. Here is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on him.
I actually sense a profound difference between the Republican caucus of last term, the 115th Congress, and the Republican caucus of this term that we are now, a few weeks into at this point. And that difference was that it really felt that last term, the Republican caucus was one of extreme fealty to Donald Trump. There were some that were true believers, others that simply remained quiet out of cowardice and out of fear of the president's retribution. But this term, there are legitimate white supremacist sympathizers that sit at the heart and at the core of the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives. And when you see someone like the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy of the Republican Party, respond to white supremacist vitriol coming from his own members, not with censure like they did with Representative Steve King of Iowa, not with being stripped of committees, not with any consequence. You have to wonder who actually has that power. And it increasingly seems, unfortunately, that in the House Republican caucus, Kevin McCarthy answers to these QAnon members of Congress, not the other way around.
Wow.
That's pretty strong.
Wow. Don't mess with AOC, because that's the core of the issue. The issue is that they create a monster, and they played Republicans. They have been playing with the monster for the last 40 years, and now it's coming back to eat them. And she's right. Kevin McCarthy isn't in charge, not at all.
And didn't Kevin McCarthy just go down and meet with Trump? Was that him? I don't want to give people misinformation, but Sophie's shaking her head. Yeah, does everyone remember what Trump had to say about QAnon during the election? They're just good people. They're just good people. They love America. They love Trump, I hear. They're worried about the kids.
The kids.
So, no, he knows exactly what QAnon is, because he spends every minute of his life that isn't spent looking at Fox and Friends, looking at his phone, which is on right-wing BS websites. He knows what it is. He's okay with it. Kevin McCarthy's deferential to him. That is the Trump thing. Well, what is the crossover between QAnon and MAGA?
Oh,
like, you think there's a lot of QAnon people who are like, well, I don't want to make America great again.
Anyway, the Venn diagram. The Venn diagram is spectacular on that one.
Exactly. So we'll see, Kevin McCarthy. Maybe you don't, and maybe you aren't so scared of the future of your party and your own position of leadership that you're terrified that Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene or Madison Cawthorn are going to replace you in the next couple of years. But you have to demonstrate it. So we're going to see what you do. And I got an idea of what it's going to be, and it ain't going to be much. Now that said, let's read a few more comments from the audience. I saw a question. I forget if it was on Twitch or on YouTube, but there was a question for Ben, and that was, well, then who's your favorite doctor?
Oh, I shouldn't have got myself into that. My first doctor is Matt Smith. And so you kind of have an affinity for your first doctor. You never really forget your first doctor. But I think Peter Capaldi is actually my favorite doctor. I like the old curmudgeonly doctor. Yeah.
I've never watched any of it. I don't know anything about it. I know what a TARDIS is, and that's like it.
What about Star Trek?
Oh no, I've watched a lot.
Okay. Well, we have that. We have the Star Trek language.
Like, who's your favorite captain is a similar incendiary question. But I will give that to you now.
Who is it?
Who is yours?
Oh, you first. No,
you
Picard.
first.
Picard. It has to be Picard.
Yeah. For favorite captain, it's Picard. Favorite crew, though?
Ooh, that's tough. Voyager is an amazing crew, and they have some amazing episodes. Let's not talk about it, because I could talk about it for 7 hours.
Too. Okay.
Yeah, Janeway's amazing.
At some point.
Yeah.
I do like Janeway. I've grown to like her more during rewatch.
The older I get, and the Year from Hell episode reminds me of what
Year from Hell is.
It's like
one of the
fresh
best
shit.
Two-parters.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway.
What about Sliders?
God, I gotta start watching Voyager again.
Do you remember Sliders?
I do remember. I remember Sliders. Yeah.
Remember the pandemic episode? Is like episode 2. I'm like, oh, they're predicting the future.
Probably, but I don't know. Okay, I gotta go back and watch.
Okay, let's get to it. Let me get back to the news.
Yeah. We got some news. So really fast, a couple comments. Tina Dean says, got the vaccine shot last night. We were put on a waiting list for when they have extras from no-show appointments. I am in Wyoming, so it might be a low population thing, but check your local area to see if that's an option. Hello, Ben. Love your show.
Oh, great. Hello. Good to see you.
Yeah, Tina Dean, very happy that you got the vaccine, and thank you for the super chat. Super chat. I said shot because I was thinking about vaccines. Yeah, I might look into that. I kind of doubt in LA that there's any excess doses that one can get. If you're not giving a check for like $20,000, but we'll see. Carla says, Ben, tell my soror I said hi. I think sorority. Are you having Zoom parties?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. Who is that? What was the name on that one?
Carla M.
Carla M. But yeah, I would tell my wife, sorority member of AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, same sorority as Kamala.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Like the election night one, thanks to John and TYT, my Lincoln Repub Black hubby is now way more progressive, but still won't officially change his party. Progress.
It's progress.
That's good. I'm glad to see that. Okay, let's see. Stray X says about GME, people need to calm down. The hedge funds are basically trading back and forth to give the illusion of mass sell-offs, which is why the price is fluctuating. Wait until at least tomorrow. So yes, I have seen people saying that. We are so far beyond my understanding of how any of this works that please do not do anything financial based on what I tell you. And that's not just for this story, anything. I don't want anyone. So many people are suffering to lose $1 because of my stupid opinions. Or if you're gonna lose $1 because of my stupid opinions, have it be donating to the right cause or politics.
Yeah, there you go. But I ditto. I don't know anything about finance. That was my worst subject in college.
Yeah. Ellinger says, Ben, as a Dillard Panther, I forgive you for being a tiger. Keep up the great content.
Okay, Dillard. Love Dillard. Respect for Dillard High School. We see you.
Nice. Chris McMurray says, I work in the studio that makes Archer, and my name is in the back of the Archer book. Can I be Logain the False Dragon? Hi, Ben, ATL represent.
ATL Georgia, shouty. All right.
Awesome. That's awesome. By the way, Chris, do you get how jealous I am of you right now? I really like Archer. I think it's like the best stylized cartoon. So funny. The fact that it's lasted so long. Have you met Pam? Tell me you've met Pam.
Real quick, just to show you how much of a Trekkie I am, I'm just thinking about Admiral Archer from Star Trek Enterprise. Not Enterprise,
exactly.
But no, it was Enterprise. Yeah, there you go.
It was Enterprise, yeah. Which I actually ended up liking. It took me like 3 tries to get past the first few episodes.
It was the music. It was the opening music. Why did they do that? Oh,
it started to grow on me a couple seasons in, but it's bad.
Road or something. I don't know.
Getting from there to here. Oh God.
Oh, we should have reminded ourselves of that. But it was a great series.
I don't mind it. It's a great series. Anyway,
shout out to Trick.
Exactly. Great science officer too. Anyway, okay, now with that. Oh my God, we've only finished the B block.
I'm so sorry. I'm taking you off the track.
It's not you. I used to have Emma on, and we talk about like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and she, has a prior commitment now. So when I get a chance to talk about this, I'm gonna jump in it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's see what we can get through. So, hey, so there was this meme, and you're probably not familiar with it. Like you have to be like really cool and online and know what it is, but it had to do with a picture of Bernie that you can see here. You're seeing it now for the first time. But a lot of people actually went pretty crazy from this. And so it became this big thing and it was everywhere, including on Bernie Sanders' campaign store, where he was selling this Chairman Sanders design to raise money for charity. And raise money they did. They raised $1.8 million in 5 days for different charitable organizations selling those shirts. And Bernie Sanders put out a statement in response to that amazing haul of money saying, Jane and I were amazed by all the creativity shown by so many people over the last week, and we're glad we can use my internet fame to help Vermonters in need. But even this amount of money and this is where it gets so Bernie. But even this amount of money is no substitute for action by Congress, and I will be doing everything I can in Washington to make sure working people in Vermont and across the country get the relief they need in the middle of the worst crisis we faced since the Great Depression. Which is great because obviously the $1.8 million doesn't mean that 2020 didn't happen, but he can do both. He can do both.
Right. Shout out to my president, Bernie Sanders. Don't get me wrong. Thank you, Joe Biden, for getting rid of Donald Trump. But as for me and my house, in terms of how we want to help the people, I want to always keep that spirit that Bernie has.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I know that it's so early into Biden's term that if you're one of the leftists that man, I kind of still, I wish it was Bernie. A lot of people would be like, shut up, why are you being negative? It's good
Leave
time.
us alone, let us enjoy, let us have something, okay? You guys pulled a fast one on us on Super Tuesday. Let us have this moment, all right?
Exactly. And by the way, I supported Biden, and how much credit have I been giving him the last week? I'm same side. Yeah, I'm with you, I'm not with the Boogaloo Boys. But that said, Bernie was my guy, and I kind of think it would still be great if he was president, but it's not gonna happen, okay? So you get the last laugh, he's never gonna be president.
Yeah,
but anyway.
But no one's gonna ever be cooler than Bernie Sanders. No chairman of the budget committee is ever gonna be as cool as Bernie Sanders. There you go.
Exactly. And I can't wait to see what he does in that. But really fast to let you know, the groups that received money as a result of this include the area agencies on aging to fund Meals on Wheels throughout Vermont, Vermont Community Action Agencies, Feeding Chittenden, Chill Foundation, which sounds great, senior centers in Vermont, and bi-state primary care for dental care improvements in the state. And by the way, I actually was surprised by this. A lot of other people have gotten involved in the trying to raise money. The woman who made the mittens made some extra mittens to be auctioned off. The same coat that he's wearing, the company that makes it donated 50 of the coats or whatever. Even Getty Images donated the proceeds from that photo to Meals on Wheels of America, which I would not have expected. So that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Great work, Bernie. You done good. Yeah. Anyway, now that's the good news. Let's move on to a little bit more negative news. There are a lot of state governments that don't do the right thing, but some states allow people to weigh in. And in the past few years, there have been a number of great ballot initiatives that have accomplished what state governments won't. But unfortunately, you also have state governments that really don't give a damn what happens with these ballot initiatives, so they try to defang them, and we have an example of that here. Less than 3 months after voters approved a constitutional amendment to raise Florida's minimum wage to $15 an hour, a Senate Republican has filed a proposal that could lead to some workers making less than that. So take a look at this. Really, take a look at this. The amendment approved in the November election will increase the minimum wage to $10 an hour on September 30th, and annual increases will bring it to $15 an hour on September 30th, 2026. But Senate Judiciary Chairman Jeff Brandes, Republican, filed a proposal Wednesday that, if approved, would modify that amendment to allow the legislature to provide a reduced minimum wage for workers under the age of 21, those convicted of felonies, state prisoners, and for other hard to hire employees. So we've got a little bit more on theoretically him trying to defend this, but he is just saying if you're one of these groups, we want you to be standing next to other workers doing the exact same job. But because we don't like your group, we want you to make significantly less money. That's amazing, Ben.
Yeah, and they're so transparent with it. The other thing is the timeline, right? 2026. I mean, the minimum wage right now, if it kept up with workers' efficiency, should be somewhere around $22, right? So by 2026, that efficiency should probably be $30 an hour. And we got to get out of this type of incrementalism that seeks to pacify and assuage the anguish of the people with solutions that are going to be insufficient in the future because they're insufficient now.
Yeah, I mean so yes, that's a problem, and that's a problem with this ballot initiative, but also with what's being discussed in Washington. It's obviously a much better situation than keeping it 725, which Trump would have been perfectly happy with eliminating it altogether. Lots of Republicans would. But all of your criticisms are 100% valid. But like specifically saying those convicted of felonies who already have a hard time getting a job. Now, if you're actually able to get one, screw you. We want you to make as little money as possible.
Right.
Now, he didn't immediately respond to a request from the appeal, where there's great reporting on this, and you can read all the details there at the appeal. But he spent the day on Twitter claiming that lowering the minimum wage for teens or the formerly incarcerated will somehow help them. He cited multiple right or libertarian-leaning think tanks, which alleged that minimum wage hikes would lead to a spike in unemployment for those groups. A significant amount of research contradicts those claims, as we've gone over a million times. One representative from Florida pointed out that higher wages will keep people out of prison, which they claim is their goal, to not have recidivism and all of that. He responded to that saying, once they get a job, but you're not doing anything that changes the chance of them getting a job. You're just trying to hurt them if they do get a job. So I don't even understand that response. But she responds to that saying, and the jobs they find right now pay poverty wages, which often put them back into prison. Increasing the wage will keep them out of prison. If your point is that we don't have enough jobs for the incarcerated, let's create them, not punish them. And also, hard to expect the formerly incarcerated to pay their fines, fees without a good paying job, just saying, which actually ties very well into another topic, which we're gonna get to in just a second. But that seems like a great point. If you want people to not get in prison in the first place, let alone go back to it, pay them a good wage.
Yeah. And John, back to your first point too, right? That can't be overstated. You know, the fact that they're trying to vilify in this way, they're trying to use someone's past to vilify their future, right? And the willingness to do that really, you know, as the people, you know, we the people, us, you know, all of us, if we allow them to do this with returned citizens, people who have paid their dues and their debts for what they did, if we allow them to do that for them, then it's obviously a backdoor way to keep minimum wage reduced for as many people as possible. So we can't allow them to use our fear of returned citizens and to vilify them, because it's going to end up hurting us in return.
Exactly, and this isn't the first time that Florida has tried to either totally eliminate or defang a ballot initiative. Yeah. It's not even the first time they've done it with regards to returned citizens. So the Florida legislature has long treated grassroots ballot initiatives with open contempt. In 2017, after more than 70% of state voters elected to legalize medical marijuana, state lawmakers responded by temporarily making it illegal to smoke medicinal weed. In 2018, when a supermajority of Floridians voted to return voting rights to at least 1.4 million formerly incarcerated people, the GOP-dominated legislature passed a glorified poll tax that made sure that 800,000 of those people remained ineligible to vote. So they basically said, you still can't vote until you pay off all these fines, and we're gonna make it virtually impossible, not only for you to do this, and by the way, this is one way to help make it impossible for you to pay off those fines by making sure you earn as little as possible. But in many cases, it was almost impossible to even find out what your fees were. They'd created a system that was impossible to navigate. Even if you 100% just wanted to pay off your debt to society monetarily, in addition to the incarceration, which you already paid, they made it impossible, because the goal is not to stimulate more civic responsibility. It's to stop these people from voting because they believe that these people are gonna vote for Democrats.
Absolutely, because they are. They're gonna vote, and in fact, they're gonna vote to the left of Democrats. They're gonna vote to change the system, because if anyone understands exactly how brutal this system is, the people who are being housed for profit by these corporations that make money off of private prisons. But shout out to Joe Biden for canceling those contracts. And also shout out to Desmond Meade. He's the brother who worked on that initiative in Florida that helped return citizens get their voting rights. And I have to actually, didn't Michael Bloomberg, didn't he kind of fly in to try to help pay off of some of those debts, if I remember correctly?
Supposedly he did, actually. I don't remember a final amount. Look at you giving credit to him. Didn't expect to see that.
I didn't either, but if he actually does it, hey, you know, broken clock, right?
Exactly. And by the way, if you want to, I just checked, because when you said Desmond Meade, it rung a bell. We actually interviewed Desmond Meade about that effort, so that's available if people are interested as well. Anyway, yeah, just the demonization. By the way, shout out to Bernie Sanders, who relatively early on in the primary last time around called for people still serving their sentences to be able to vote, because newsflash, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that they shouldn't be able to. That's just a thing that we decided. And it works out that politicians saying that those in prison are bad are always gonna have more people on their side than those who say, hey, but they're still humans.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he got criticized a lot for that. And now it turns out that people around the country think that you don't necessarily lose all of your consideration, your human worth and all of that when you go to prison.
Absolutely.
Anyway, with that, why don't we roll through one more quick story before we close things out? I don't want to keep Ben for too long, but this is an important one. Elections have consequences, and from a long enough point of view, one of the biggest consequences is what happens with the federal judiciary. And so with Donald Trump winning in 2016, we saw that he has now put 1/3 of the Supreme Court on. So that's gonna be fun for the rest of our lives. But this time Biden won, and that is already going to have a significant impact, because 5 federal judges with lifetime appointments have announced plans to retire or semi-retire since last Wednesday, just the first week since Donald Trump left the White House. according to data provided by the Administrative Office of the US Courts. That's after 8 judges had already announced their plans to step down once Biden was declared the winner of the 2020 presidential election. On Tuesday, 2 more US district judges announced their plans to take senior status, which is like a sort of initiation into semi-retirement that will inevitably lead to them being retired. And so one wrote, by the way, this is US District Judge William Alsup wrote, "Congratulations on becoming our new president. I feel it's time now for me to go senior." So it seems like a bunch of these people were waiting for Trump to finally be gone. And so we're gonna have some more numbers for you, but Biden is already gonna have some vacancies that he can fill, which is the beginning of a process of trying to undo some of the damage to the judiciary that Trump was able to do over the last 4 years.
I'm just looking at the Ruth Bader Ginsburg icon you had behind you on your shelf, because that was a really tough time this summer when she passed away. And I mean, of course, there's the judiciary up and down, not just the Supreme Court. So this is the time for anyone who can retire, because we see what Republicans do when they get within 75 yards of the field goal, right? They go for it, and so we can't afford to play that to risk that again. No.
Yeah, and so we're gonna see that with district and appellate judges. We'll see about the Supreme Court. I don't know. I think the oldest current Supreme Court justice, I think, is 86 years old, which is certainly up there. The one who served the longest is Clarence Thomas, but he's a bit younger. If he were to retire, that would be significant. None of this is gonna result in the Democrats in having any sort of majority or anything like that, but it will at least be a start.
Right.
Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the numbers. 8 of the retiring judges were appointed by Bill Clinton, 2 by Barack Obama, but 5 were appointed by President George W. Bush, which means that as of Wednesday, Biden has 46 district court vacancies and 3 appeals court vacancies to fill, which is a good amount, but understand that it is not nearly as much as Trump had when he came in. The federal judiciary had 117 vacancies due to deaths, retirements, and promotions shortly after Trump took office in 2017, which is a bit more than twice as much. And that, of course, is because Mitch McConnell had stopped Obama from getting judges for what felt like years by the time the transition happened. And that meant that in the end, Trump put more than 230 people into lifetime judgeships. That's far more than Obama at 175, who served for twice as long, Bush at 206, Clinton at 204. So we're talking about 2 8-year presidencies still couldn't match up to what Trump was able to get in 4 years because of the Senate. So that's just to remind you of how much work there is to be done to try to reverse some of that damage that is already cropping up with immigration executive orders, but is going to touch on everything, including possibly the ACA, minimum wage, Medicare for all, the Green New Deal if it ever gets proposed. A lot of these things, there are all sorts of little like landmines out there in the form of Trump judges that would love to overthrow all of it if it happened.
Yeah, there's been some significant damage, and thank you for pointing it all out. And that's why this is the damage report.
It is. Anyway, Ben, as always, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. But I want to reassure people that though you're not going to be on the show tomorrow, your show goes on. Actually, multiple of your shows. So where can people watch those?
You all need to tune in every morning at 8:30 to the Morning Trap. It's me, but it's with all of my friends, and we had a great time this morning. Go check out this morning's episode every morning at 8:30 Eastern on YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
And for those of you at home, I'm gonna read just a couple more of your comments before we close things out. I did want to also let you know, if you haven't already, this is one of our traditions, so you're probably anticipating what I'm gonna say right now, but today is Thursday, and tomorrow is naturally Friday. Friday is when we take out the trash. So we need to know what the garbage is, which means it's time for you to go to the community tab on our YouTube channel and vote for the TDR Community Garbage Person of the Week. You might have to scroll down a little bit, but you'll see a poll there, and you're gonna get a chance to nominate who you think should be tossed in the trash. So I always look forward to those votes. Brett and I are gonna have some garbage for you. I feel like we had a lot of garbage today. We're gonna see what merits it on Friday, but for now, let's see. Mike Williams sent in a super chat saying, I am a financial advisor and they don't mind market fluctuations if they're controlling it. They do mind billions of wealth to average people in a short period of time. Taxes will be interesting. Agree. Let's see. Bernie Hart Dragon says, why don't these hedge funds pull themselves up by their bootstraps, start driving Uber, get a second job, stop buying coffee? Do they have cell phones? Yeah, how much avocado toast are these hedge funds eating? Seems irresponsible to me. Kamazat says, hi Ben, I always love your takes. It is amazing. Well, I'm sure he appreciates that even though he's not here. Iron Dragon says, happy birthday, John, Ben, and fellow dragons. So happy to be here today. I'm happy you're here, Iron Dragon. Thank you for being with us. Tony Fedora says the name of the TDR dragon, that's so easy. Damage. We'll see. Maybe we'll have a vote at some point. I'm gonna have to come up with some options. James Bishop says, I thought that Q-tips were against pedophilia. Why is she stalking kids? Funny. Exactly. There's always some blinders there. Carson Rodkey says, David Hogg is much calmer than I could ever be. If she was following me, my response would have to be a continuous bleep on this show. Probably. The Nyx Dragon says, hi Ben, we need that rainbow dragon shirt and it can be humanity dragon. John, keep your head up, we've got this, thank you. Yes, we haven't, I think we've got the mug. That's our most recent merch. I think a mask is coming. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's time for another dragon. I think a rainbow dragon, its time has come. Okay, Rob Shively says, a red dragon, Crimzor, Damagor, Reportor, Jeff. I think Jeff is a good name for the dragon. We'll see about that. Okay, Justin says, I can promise you Marjorie Taylor Greene has never and will never use her gun for self-defense, so she can stifle with that. And I can't swear there, but I don't know. I know that quite a few people with guns harbor fantasies of being able to use it, so she seems like the sort of person. Como Chingon Canesto says, and that's the bottom line because Karen said so. Ugh, don't compare her to The Rock. Okay, Perkigoth Dragon says, Ben, level up and swear in on the TARDIS in full Time Lord robes and watch the meltdown with glee. Can you imagine? I assume the reaction in Congress would be like the reaction was at my wedding ceremony when my best friend who did the actual ceremony did it in full Game of Thrones cosplay as a maester, including chain. Oh, that was a great wedding. Anyway, okay, so let's see what's going on with Twitch. I also want to thank some of our more recent members, but over in Twitch, what we've got going on is that, one more super chat. Courtney Calderon says, John, I live in OC Santa Ana to be exact, and want to do a local strike focus on the local city economy to hold local newly elected city council and mayor accountable. Any collective effort to support or spread the word. Courtney, that's the sort of thing that in theory, if you start the movement, we could have you on to talk about on the show potentially. Okay, oh no, in the Twitch section, Bart appears, says, wrong John and Dragon Squad. William Shatner's Kirk is the best and way better than Picard, and I have 10 reasons why. Okay, let's see. 1, Kirk can beat a Vulcan at chess. 2, Kirk never drinks tea, ever. If Kirk finds a strange spinning probe, he blows it up. Kirk doesn't let the doctor tell him what to do. 3 words, flying leg kick. Kirk can beat a Klingon barehanded. Kirk wasn't shy about taking his shirt off. Kirk would never sing to children in a crisis. Kirk would personally throw Wesley off the bridge. 1 word, hair. That's a low blow. Okay, some of those are good explanations. I will say though, Picard was never shy about taking his shirt off either. So you've got 9 points at best there. Cal Malone says Cisco. Amanda Lee says love Janeway. Amanda Lee says Janeway is my favorite captain. Very unpopular opinion among Trekkies. No, she's one of the top for me too. Lynn Ann says Kirk. Warp Hyphen Master says 7 of 9, who's not even a captain, but yeah, she's one of my favorites too. Mackie says Cisco. Grumpy Old Nerd says Captain Christopher Pike. Wow, a shout out for Pike, didn't expect that. And also, Holy Beer Dragon gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Rodney gifted 5 as well. Thank you to all of you who are such good ambassadors, whether you're becoming a member on the YouTube, becoming or sharing membership on Twitch. We really do appreciate that. And for those of you who become members recently, thank you to Bonnie Vickers, Exadria the Nobody, Mickey Fuller, Rachel, and Kimberly as well. Appreciate all of you supporting the show. We're very much looking forward to getting more emojis and more special content for you. We have a lot of fun with that. And with that said, go vote for the garbage people, and I will see you tomorrow. Until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. See you soon.